Welcome to the Intermediate Graphical Analysis video. In this video, you'll discover how to import data from the LabQuest handheld device, how to add a second dependent variable, how to print your data table, and how to add a new dataset or calculated column. This video was produced in 2012 using Graphical Analysis version 3.4. Future updates and other versions of the software may vary, but these basic instructions should be enough to get you started. Let's begin by importing some data collected using a LabQuest handheld device. When you're ready to export your data to a USB drive on the handheld device, be sure to select File and Export. This will allow you to save the data in the text format. When you're ready to import your data into Graphical Analysis, select File, Import From, Text File. Here, I'm going to choose to import the cooling curve data that I collected on the LabQuest. Once imported, you should clear up any importing artifacts like this funny symbol over here on the temperature unit. You can add a title, edit the axes labels. You could even add a linear regression line if needed. Be sure to review the Beginner Graphical Analysis tutorial video for instructions related to these topics. Here's the graph we made during the previous tutorial to find the density of aluminum. Let's say we needed to include a second set of data in the same graph. Just select Data, New Data Set, and the columns appear in the data table. Let's edit the title to reflect what I'm actually graphing. This will be for an unknown mass. And its units are grams. Okay, now let's add the new data set. If we click and drag the new data onto the graph, it automatically graphs the data. By clicking on the y-axis label over here and selecting More, this will allow us to change the axis label to something better suited for this graph. In this case, it'll just be mass in grams. We could add a linear regression for the other set of data. Before we print this graph, we must include a legend that identifies the two sets of data. So double-click on the graph and bring up the Graph Options tab. Under Examine, we can check the checkbox for legend. Let's print the data table. Because we should always have a data table for data that's graphed, let's go to File and Print Data Table. Include your name and the date, of course. If instead of using the same y-axis for the second set of data, we wanted to use a second y-axis with its own scaling, here's all we'll need to do. Double-clicking on the graph will bring up the Axis Options tab over here. Let's turn the right y-axis on, and we'll remove this label, and we'll turn off the unknown mass from the left y-axis, and we'll turn it on for the right y-axis. Move the legend out of the way. So now we have a right y-axis with a different scale than the left y-axis. Finally, let's see how you can add a calculated column to your data table. For instance, with this titration data, I would like to find an inflection point, and I'm going to use the second derivative of the pH data to do it. Let's select Data, New Calculated Column. That'll bring up the Column Definitions tab. And here I'll simply name the column. And let's fill in the equation information using the Functions button. We want calculus. You see there's first derivative here, but I want to do the second derivative. And for the variable, we're going to select pH. That'll give us the second derivative of the pH. And when I hit done, we have our second derivative data over here in the data table. We can drag this in and plot it on the same scale. Or, if we double click on the graph and add the right y-axis, and here we can select the second derivative data, making it appear on the graph using the right y-axis with a separate scale. Thanks for watching, and happy graphing.